Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Melissa and I'm the owner of seasonandserveblog.com. I am back just in time for the holiday season, and in today's video I'm going to show you how to make 5 delicious recipes for a rustic yet elegant Thanksgiving feast. This Thanksgiving menu starts off with a delicious and savory Boursin cheese stuffed mushroom as an appetizer, followed by Cornish game hens with wild rice stuffing, fondant potatoes as an elegant side dish, along with homemade chicken gravy that goes great with the potatoes and the Cornish game hen. And this Thanksgiving menu wouldn't be complete without a special Grand Marnier cranberry sauce. So if you want to see how to make all these delicious Thanksgiving recipes, just keep on watching. We'll start off our Thanksgiving celebration with an irresistible appetizer for Boursin-Stuffed Mushrooms. These bite-sized delights combine the earthiness of mushrooms and herbs with the creamy richness of Boursin cheese. These stuffed mushrooms have the perfect balance of rustic and elegant charm for your Thanksgiving feast. We'll begin this recipe by preparing our mushrooms, and I have some cremini mushrooms here that I'm just going to remove the stems from. To remove the stems is really easy. All you have to do is just simply twist the stem and it should pop right out. And we're not going to waste any of these mushroom stems at all. We are actually going to chop them up very finely and then add them into our mushroom filling. So chop them up nice and finely just like this, set it aside, and then we're also going to chop up 2 cloves of garlic along with 1 shallot. And again, you want both of these to be very finely chopped. We have to cook our mushroom filling before we actually stuff the mushrooms. And to do this, I'm going to fry the shallots, garlic, and mushroom stems in a little bit of olive oil for about 4 to 5 minutes until they are nicely softened and are just starting to turn golden brown. Also adding a little bit of salt and pepper adds additional flavor to these stuffed mushrooms. While the filling is still hot, we're going to add it to a mixing bowl, and then we're going to add in the Boursin cheese. And there's lots of flavors of Boursin cheese out there, but I'm using the traditional garlic and herb one because it has such great flavor with the mushrooms. And if you haven't had Boursin cheese before, it is a delicious creamy cheese that is great during the holidays or really any time of year. It's just an amazing light soft cheese. So we'll mix up the Boursin cheese and mushrooms, and then we're going to add in some Parmesan cheese, and this adds an extra cheesy nutty flavor to these stuffed mushrooms. Then we'll just mix it through again, and then we're going to set that aside and make our breadcrumb topping. This breadcrumb topping is super easy. All you have to do is add some Parmesan cheese and panko to a bowl, mix that together, and then to get that perfectly golden brown color, we are going to add some olive oil and just mix it through with your fingers until a wet, sort of sandy breadcrumb mixture forms, just like this. And now that our filling and breadcrumb topping are made, we can go ahead and start stuffing the mushrooms. I like to add a heaping tablespoon of mushroom filling into each of the mushroom caps, and then we're going to garnish the top off with some of that breadcrumb mixture. And make sure you sprinkle this evenly over all of the stuffed mushrooms. And now that our Boursin stuffed mushrooms are all assembled, we are going to bake this in a 375-degree oven for about 35 minutes or until the mushrooms have softened and the tops have gotten all golden brown. A garnish of chopped Italian parsley finishes off this dish and adds a nice beautiful green color and a delicious bright flavor. Next up, I'll show you how to make these Cornish game hens with wild rice stuffing. Now, Cornish game hens may not be a traditional Thanksgiving recipe like turkey is, but it is a really great poultry alternative and is great for serving up small or large crowds. You can cook up 1 or 2 of these for just a small Thanksgiving get-together, or you can even make 8, 9, 10 of these, however many you need for all of your guests at Thanksgiving. To start off this recipe, we are going to be making the wild rice filling. So into a frying pan with some olive oil, I'm going to add some onion, celery, and carrot. These 3 vegetables combined make something called a mirepoix, also known as a what smells so good starter pack. If you know, you know. But anyways, we're going to saute this for about 5 minutes just until the vegetables have softened, and then we're going to add in some day-old cooked wild rice. It's important that the wild rice is a day old just because it's less moist, which won't make your filling soggy. Additionally, we are going to mix through some chopped herbs including sage and thyme, and then we'll set that aside and keep it warm. And next we're going to make the butter that will baste these Cornish game hens. So I'm adding some salted butter to a bowl along with some more chopped sage and thyme, and I'm also adding 2 cloves of chopped garlic. And my secret ingredient for a perfectly browned Cornish game hen, chicken, or turkey is to add a little bit of soy sauce to the butter mixture. It adds salt, flavor, and color. I'm gently going to mix this together and then set it aside. We are going to be melting this in the microwave just so we can evenly glaze the Cornish game hens once they're all stuffed and ready. And next we'll move on to preparing our Cornish game hens. And if you haven't had these Cornish game hens before, they're not baby chickens. It's actually a different breed of chicken that is just much smaller, and these are fully grown. And Cornish game hens do taste just like chicken, but I like serving these individually. Each person will get a whole Cornish game hen, and this way they can enjoy the breast, the thigh, the leg, all the delicious parts of the Cornish game hen. To prepare the hens for cooking, all I did was blot all the sides dry with some paper towel, and I seasoned it with a little bit of salt. I also put half of the wild rice stuffing into a separate bowl, and this will be the stuffing that we'll use to actually stuff the hens. And you want to do this just because we'll be serving the rest of the rice and we don't want to have any cross-contamination. And stuffing the Cornish game hens is really easy. All you have to do is prop them upright, open up the cavity, and add 2 to 3 heaping tablespoons of the wild rice stuffing into the middle. You want to make sure that the wild rice stuffing is warm when you're adding it into the Cornish game hen, just so that the Cornish game hen will cook properly and fully and safely when it's being baked in the oven. And to make sure none of this wild rice stuffing falls out when baking, we're going to tie the legs together with some butcher's twine, and then we'll transfer the Cornish game hens into a roasting pan with a wire rack set inside it. Then we'll simply melt the herb butter that we made earlier, brush it all over the Cornish game hens, and then add about a cup of chicken stock to the bottom of the roasting pan just to keep these Cornish game hens nice and moist while they're baking. And to bake, we'll start them off in a 400-degree oven for about 10 to 15 minutes, and then reduce the heat to 375 degrees, and then continue to bake until the interior of the Cornish game hen reads 165 degrees Fahrenheit with an instant read thermometer. And to ensure an even golden color across the Cornish game hens, make sure you baste them every 15 to 20 minutes using the drippings found at the bottom of the pan. So once your Cornish game hens are cooked, just simply cover them with aluminum foil and set them aside to rest for at least 15 to 20 minutes. Once rested, you can add them to a serving platter along with the wild rice stuffing that we saved from earlier, and then garnish it with a little bit of sage leaves. I think this just adds the perfect festive Thanksgiving touch. This rustic yet elegant recipe will be a showstopper at any Thanksgiving table this season. Now, Thanksgiving isn't complete without potatoes in some form or another, and this year I decided to make these elegant fondant potatoes. Now, these fondant potatoes may sound a little fancy and may be intimidating to make, but trust me, they are so easy. You will be making these for Thanksgiving and for the rest of the holiday season. To start off, we're going to peel some russet potatoes, and then we're going to cut them into round discs about 1 inch thick. And to do this, I like to chop off the ends of the potato just so that they're as even as possible. Once the potatoes are cut, we're just going to add them into a bowl with some cold water to remove any excess starch from the outside of the potato. We're going to let those potatoes sit for about 5 minutes in the water, then we're going to remove them and blot all the sides dry with some paper towels. You want to make sure these are completely dry and free of any water because we are going to be pan frying these in oil. And if there is any water on there, they will splatter. So take the time and dry these off really well. Next, we'll add some grapeseed oil into a large oven-safe frying pan, and then we'll add in the potatoes in a single layer. And while we're frying the potatoes, we'll preheat the oven to 425 degrees Fahrenheit. The pan should be nice and hot, and at this point all the potatoes should be sizzling. Then we're going to season the top side with some salt and some pepper. We'll fry the potatoes for 4 to 5 minutes per side until they become nice and golden brown. Next, we'll flip over the potatoes, season with salt and pepper, and fry for another 5 minutes until golden brown on the other side. At this point, there's going to be lots of oil in the pan that we don't need anymore, so to remove it, I'm just adding a paper towel to the pan and carefully letting it soak up, and then I'll discard it. Then we're going to add some salted butter to the pan along with a sprig of thyme, and then just use a tablespoon to gently baste the fondant potatoes. Once basted, we're going to add half a cup of chicken stock to the pan, bring it to a boil, and then transfer it immediately to the oven where we'll bake it for about 30 to 35 minutes. Once the fondant potatoes are cooked, they'll be nice and crispy on the outside and soft and tender on the inside, and this is a perfect texture combination. To serve these up, place the hot fondant potatoes on a serving platter and garnish with that baked thyme sprig as well as an extra sprinkling of sea salt. And gravy has the power to pull all of these delicious Thanksgiving flavors together, and I'm going to show you how to make this homemade chicken gravy using the pan drippings from those Cornish hens. This recipe couldn't be easier. All I do is add the drippings from the pan with the Cornish game hens into a pot with some chicken stock. In a separate bowl, I mix together some cornstarch and cold water to make a slurry, and then I'm just gradually adding that slurry into the chicken stock and whisking it together until a nice thick gravy forms. I like to add about 2 to 3 tablespoons of cornstarch, but it really depends on how thick you want your gravy. Also, remember to fully boil the gravy to activate all of that cornstarch and make that gravy nice and thick before adding any more. And to round out this Thanksgiving feast and add a burst of color and tangy sweetness, we're making some homemade Grand Marnier cranberry sauce. This classic side dish gets an orangey twist with the addition of orange peels and Grand Marnier orange liqueur. This elegant addition really enhances this traditional rustic sauce and also goes great with the Cornish game hens. To start off this recipe, I am adding some frozen cranberries to the pot along with its tag apparently, but you can also use fresh cranberries here as well. Next we'll add half a cup of brown sugar and mix that to combine over medium-high heat. We'll also squeeze in a 1/4 cup of fresh orange juice from half of an orange, and we'll also add the orange peel as well, about 3 to 4 slices, but make sure that you peel the orange before juicing it. We'll also add a whole stick of cinnamon, and this will give the cranberry sauce a nice warming flavor. Mix all these ingredients together, bring to a boil, and then reduce the heat to medium and cook for about 20 minutes or until the majority of the cranberries have burst. Then simply remove from the heat and let cool for 10 minutes before adding a splash of Grand Marnier orange liqueur. You can add as much or as little as you want, but I add around about a 1/4 cup. Mix that together to combine once more, then set aside to cool before scooping into a beautiful serving dish to add to your Thanksgiving table. And that is it for today's video. I hope that it inspires you to create some of these rustic and elegant Thanksgiving dishes for your friends and family this holiday season. As always, if you're looking for any of these full recipes, they are available on my blog, seasonandserveblog.com. I'll leave a link to my blog in the description box below, and simply click that to view all of the full measurements and directions for each of these recipes. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button down below for more delicious seasonal recipes and for additional Thanksgiving recipes that I have on my channel already. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Happy Thanksgiving!